Cheers and welcome. This is our tea. Imagine number 41, I think 42 weeks, guys, still from March of last year. 42 beautiful sharings with you. Not to mention before sharings live in Bali. So yeah, very, very cool to have you all again. So today we will talk and explore the issue that we are, I think, all of us feeling, yeah? Inevitably, we are feeling a number of challenges because of what the humanity is going through. And the humanity is going through that because of course, cycles of time and actually astrological cycles and year cycles that right now, as humanity, we are reaching the point where we really have to grow up. We have to grow up, or we're going to use up the humane possibility of the planet to, well, planet doesn't care, you know, planet is going to continue. It doesn't care if humans are on it or not, but this beautiful environment in which we can thrive, that is what is getting tired. Yeah, we are starting to really, reach the end of usability of earthly friendliness, doing things like we have been, you know, like without thinking of being one and being wasteful and not thinking about sustainability and things like this. On top of that, we had this beautiful connection of Sun with Lilith, you know, like really kind of lining up in the previous few days. And we know what Lilith is. Sun is our identity. So this is what we feel and think that we are. And then Lilith is that which are our most hidden shadow parts of ourselves. And then Sun is now beaming so that we see them and they cannot stay in the dark anymore. Of course, when they start showing up, then we have we have two choices. If we get triggered and Lilith brings challenges, we have two choices. One choice is to cover ourselves under the blanket and just don't want to have anything with them and turn our back and, you know, like start eating pizza, start going to Facebook and avoiding the trigger altogether. And another option is to actually look at it and see what it's bringing. So I would really think that you guys probably have felt this influence in the last few days. I had a few beautiful confirmations of people saying that this is such a right timing for them, this topic this week. That they had just faced some long-standing challenges. So let's open it like every week by asking you guys, what is your most outstanding and active challenge at this moment that's showing up? And then we will look how to properly face it and how to go through it. So what is your most active, most current challenge at this moment?
Of course, if you have one, I presume that everybody's lives are a smooth and beautiful flow with rose petals and sun shining.
If you need a little help with the challenges, I can share what my challenge was in these few days. And I have already shared a little bit. And this is that my driver's license is expiring. It's expiring on May 27th. And my driver's license is based in US. So I would need to go to US and extend it. But what happens is that because of whatever mind program is happening, those government departments that are issuing driver's licenses are not booking any appointments. So I cannot go and do it right now. So my issue was, well, how do I drive? How do I rent cars? How do I move? So obviously my issue was what does the driver's license represent to me? And is my freedom being, my favorite topic of my freedom being taken away from me? Freedom of movement, freedom of going from one place to the other. So that was my challenge, and I solved it beautifully. We will share how.
Mm-hmm. And my challenge to add to that topic related is that this morning I woke up to realize that I actually have, I'm back in Moonlight, and I have guests this weekend, and I realized that I have overbooking, and the beautiful family with kids and birthday cake and everything was on the way, where actually all the rooms are already booked. So I have this beautiful thrill in the morning to realize that somebody is gonna have a different birthday than they imagined, like a interesting surprise coming from my part. Of course, my fault in every possible way, but nevertheless, that's what I was facing this morning. And while having to kind of hold the field and be ready for our sharing, while my daughter has lost the cat, and that is even a bigger drama. So between the overbooking, trying to find something for them, and frantically looking for where's the cat, like this is the little morning ambiance. I don't know how we're gonna face it yet. Mm-hmm. We'll find out at the end of the session.
Mm-hmm. How about you guys?
Can I share?
Yes.
Victorian area you already know. I have a bit of a bigger challenge in my life right now. It's concerning my health. And a few months ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which is very interesting for me. And I immediately refused school medicine, so I didn't have any surgery or anything else. And navigating through that and trying to find out what am I doing? So why is this coming in life? Yeah, it's certainly not because I have an unhealthy diet or because I'm not a spiritual person or because I'm super stressed out. So it has another reason, and I'm kind of with a porch and I don't know the English word. So I'm kind of digging out all the things that are in my life, and I really have to look at what is and to be with it, to take decisions, to cry, to heal, to talk to my mom, to find out about my family. My grandmother died of breast cancer. And I'm still thinking about surgery, should I take it out or it's here for a reason. So when I solve the problem or the issue, then it can go away. But it needs so much trust. I need to trust so much in myself. And then I'm choosing the right path. And sometimes it's I'm not trusting, I'm kind of, maybe I just take it out, and then it's not here anymore. But of course it's still here. It's not gone. Yeah, the problem is still. So I need to solve the problem. But yeah, it's challenging. It's probably the most challenging thing I've ever done. And in the same way, it's beautiful because finally I am forced to clear up my life and to take another level, which it's a very nice thing to do. And I'm super happy that life throws this in my way, and so I can, grow from that. But it's exhausting. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Karin.
Wow, this is a very mature perspective indeed.
Mm. Yeah, definitely.
Mm. we will see. So of course, my losing the cat versus your sharing, but we will also see how it's not the size of the problem that matters, but when we see it, in which part of life we actually turn to it, so it doesn't have to grow into a giant problem. So we'll look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Karin, for this open sharing.
Yeah. Anna.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, it was really interesting actually today in the morning because my mom was in Poland for a week. And then in the night, she was coming back. So I called her in the morning, and then basically similar story to Evia, like her cat is gone and basically didn't come back home for a week. So now she's like super worried. At the same time, she got a phone call that her mother, like my grandmother, is in hospital in Poland. She got infected with the virus, even though she was like sitting at home. I mean, she wasn't leaving her home in countryside. So the only person that actually infected her was the uncle, and the uncle got infected after vaccination. So I mean, it's just this crazy thing that the uncle is also now very sick after getting the vaccine, and my grandma in hospital, so not sure how she's going to take it because she's, I think, around 90 right now. And then at the same time, you know, my mom is like really frantic because it's like everything coming on her head. Like my personal challenges, something like what Vittoria said, I was supposed to prolong my permit for stay in Switzerland. And it was funny because they wrote me a letter saying, oh, you need to have a German test, like a German certificate that you speak German. And they gave me a deadline. And basically I was looking for dates to take the German test. And every date that I found that was free was after the deadline. so that was like also like, oh my God, how am I gonna manage, you know, how am I gonna prolong it? Worked out in the end, like with enough phone calls, I found a school that did the test for me. And then another challenge is with the studies that I started that are very dear to me, that require travel because my retreat got postponed, or like we were supposed to meet in person in Colombia in July, and now they postponed it to October. But my feeling is that with such unstable situation worldwide, which probably will not change any soon, I mean, my feeling, I hope I do hope I'm wrong, but my feeling tells me it's gonna remain crazy for some time. So that's basically like also like this dream studies that I found. At the same time, the question, how much am I willing to sacrifice to actually go and finish the studies if, let's say, the requirement is to inject something into my body, which I'm absolutely not up for, my personal opinion, because from my observation, my body is much better without it. So all these challenges, and then I kind of like noticing, okay, I really need like huge degree of trust and also flexibility to be able to say, okay, I start flowing with life, like stop setting, you know, the rigid plans that I want, and that I want to, you know, like have the things happen the way I planned. I really noticed this need in me now to become like almost like water, become very flexible and start like tuning in with life and flowing with life. And then kind of trusting that it will take me to the place I'm supposed to be in the end. So, yeah.
Bravo.
Thank you, Anna. It's actually interesting. The things that are separating now are these things where we are connected to the rules and the old rules and how the systems used to work. And we are starting to literally see the two timelines separate. So what used to be important, and this is to kind of get in line with whatever so-called government requirements were, is maybe not anymore such a priority. It's very, very interesting to observe. Thank you. How about you guys? What is the current biggest challenge?
Sylvia.
Yeah, Sylvia.
I'm feeling like cruising these days. And of course, so Javis, my partner, is still in Australia. And kind of, we don't know yet how and when we are going to meet. But somehow, just what Anna said at the end, that I just know it's going to happen, and just take it like one day at a time. And I'm feeling that I'm doing the best I can today, and just enjoying the day as it is. And not really. In the past, most likely I would have a story around this, that, oh, why don't we manifest? What's wrong? What we still need to, I don't know, heal or whatever. But I don't feel it anymore. I just feel that, well, there is this divine intelligence, and somehow it's going to work out magically in a way that we can't really imagine at the moment. And just, take it one day at a time and make the most out of it and see where it leads. I feel that almost I'm not into wanting to manifest or efforting it, or maybe if I do one more session on this, then that will bust loose something. I'm not in that space at the moment, and just tuning in, zooming in, and that's that. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. I love how you're explaining it, that you just trust that it is going to come about in a way that you not necessarily know how. And we need to remember these words. It's very, very important to put things that way. Thank you. Claudia.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's really cool that you brought your attention on the question to the current day, and not projecting those expectations and then suffering from the unfulfilled projections, because that is really a big clue, big key to happiness, not to project expectations of meeting and then suffering from that not happening, but bringing attention and focus on today and what there is today, and not what there is not. So that's it seems self-obvious or easy, but it takes years and hundreds of hours of sessions and books to be able to say that. So I acknowledge that. What it took you to be able to say these things.
Yeah, thank you.
It's okay. Oh, okay. Many sessions in clearing, she said. Yeah, that's what I said.
Great. Claudia.
Hi, everyone. Well, the topic is perfect for me. I'm actually living, I don't know if it's a past life thing or just it seems like many lifetimes are plumping on me as we speak. My father has COVID and my older sister has COVID. My other sister just came out of COVID. My father is 96, so he's at the hospital right now, struggling to breathe, but he seems to be making it. At the same time, my children are moving on. So I can see how my oldest is moving out of, he's already programming to just leave home. My second is, I don't know when I'll see her again. She left 14 for boarding school and it's been a year I haven't seen her. And life is daunting on me with a new home and in a new life. And I just want to pull the cover over my head and hide. I had an awful nightmare last night that I have to deal at that because my parents own and land on my mother's side. They own land on the north of the Orinoco River. And I heard lately that they are owned by the military and the FARC. And I had a dream that I was dealing with both of them to be able to get someone out of a bad situation. And I am just, I don't know what's happening, but it's like my past life, my connections with this life, everything is daunting on me, and life is pushing me that my children need to leave. I need to anchor a new life, and I just want to run and hide. I don't know how to be with my dad. The economical situation for him is really tough because the amount of money spent in the hospital is insane. And I just, and everything, if you look at it, I mean, he's doing well. He's considering, my sister's doing well considering, but my children are leaving, and I'm shaking. Like, okay, everything, my whole world is changing. And I got a cold. I'm in a gorgeous place in north of Ubud, northwest. But the forest here is so mysterious that I can only sleep during the day. And so I'm exhausted, sick, stressed. I have to keep up with my father 12 hours away, my daughter 6 hours away, and be awake with my children here. So I don't know where to hold on. So, but everything in the positive, but I don't know. It's just, I have to anchor somewhere. And I have a condition that it's manifesting, a hormonal condition that it's becoming more obvious to look at. So I need to have a blood test on Monday. So everything is just breaking apart. So whatever.
Thank you, Claudia.
Yeah. It's, when things are breaking apart to this extent, this is when you look at the greater reality. Well, that is what's happening in the world right now. Everything we could actually grasp, to everything we could hold on to, everything, everywhere we could step before, it's all integrating and dissipating. So this is a specific mood of these times in general, and in your life, it's reflecting in a micro level. But there are ways how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sign of these times is that really increasingly everything that we used to know how it works is not going to be that way. So, like Claudia says, what do we anchor to? There must be something that we anchor to and hold on to that to weather this change. And we will share, there is something to anchor to. And it's actually very necessary, more important than ever, to find that something. So we will share about that. Gail.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Good evening. So I think that my challenge is more like a personal challenge to relating to someone who is personally struggling. So I find that I've always had this optimistic view of the world, of life. Someone even asked me a silly question, that when I was born, she said, when you were born, were you laughing? Because I've always just had this positive outlook. And so I find that it's as if like a reflex that I try to, when someone close to me, unloads their mental load or emotional load, it's like a reflex that I try to patch that up with positivity. It's like all the cliches, like it's all gonna be okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, all those things. And it's a struggle for me, because I think it's a challenge for me to relate without taking it on as my own, and to relate without changing it, but just honoring the journey of that person. So yeah, that is, it's like a struggle of toxic positivity. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Gail. This is a very, very, very important perspective. Thank you so much. And especially this kind of how we used to solve things could have been as simple as keeping always this positive attitude and kind of overcoming things by, you know, forcing positivity, whether it was appropriate or not at the time. So it's a very good point that you're bringing. At this new coming stage, we will have to develop a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more sophisticated approach than just kind of overwhelming everything with positivity, whether it was real or not. So this is going to be the sign of the times. So thank you for bringing it up, Gail. We'll cover it for sure. Fabiana.
Good morning, everyone. So yeah, I guess aligned with everyone else and the times, you know, I am totally lost, which is kind of cool. I mean, I don't really mind it, but it's definitely challenging. So yeah, I really don't know where to go. Like I've been, how do they say, you know, like in that Nomadland movie that just came out, they don't say homeless, but houseless. I've been, yeah. So, and that's usually my life because I'm just a nomad, but you know, usually I have directions at times. And yeah, this time I have all of my things, you know, back in Rio, including like my things and cat. And then I just left without knowing where to go. And I've just kind of been in this, you know, like I ended up here. I'm in Mato Grosso now because that just came up. That was a house to stay. Because on top of that, which could be actually kind of nice to flow, but I have no income at the moment. So I'm sort of like, you know, I'm like trusting the universe 100% because I'm totally been taken care of by, I don't know, people that appear in my path, you know? So like here, this friend of mine was like, well, I have a house there, you can stay there and I'll, you know, I don't live there, but I'll take care of you. And I was like, okay, thank you, right? So I'm in this paradise in the middle of nature, actually. I'm very thankful. But yeah, I really don't know where's my next step, you know, because I know this is a transition and I don't want to go back to Rio and I mean, it's not that I don't want to, I don't feel like that's there anymore, because that's the other thing on top of it. I'm in a situation where I don't want to decide actually with my ego anymore. You know, I'm totally surrendering to purpose. And so I really want like the universe to show me and my soul to choose. So I'm like, I don't want to interfere. You know, I don't want my preoccupation with money saying, oh, go back to Rio because that's where you actually might, you know, have an income, or go back to Italy because that's where I'm actually from, you know, and go home and go to your mom's house. I don't want to decide. Like, I don't want my fear to decide, right? I just really want to trust and see what happens. But yeah, so that's me.
Beautiful. Fabiana, thank you for sharing and welcome to the club.
And I'm sure Anne will back you up 100%. Anne actually can be not how you said, not the homeless people coach, but I don't know where my next home is kind of people coach. She's been trusting that way universe for many, many years, and it actually is still working out, right, Anne?
And it's so much in the topic, Fabiana, because what you're saying is you don't want to make decisions out of ego anymore. However, the topic of this sharing today is our preferences, what I would like and what I would not like. And this is the next barrier to face. How about if your journey are guiding you through the place that you do not like? So this is something we will be talking about today. And that's actually really when the true work with ego starts. The journey is taking me where I don't like. What do I do? Do I try to cover it, like spiritually bypass and say, no, the divine cannot drive me there. I don't want to go there with my parents. Or we trust the universe and go in the unpleasant situation. So
parents usually are a good portal to some next step evolution. So sometimes, I mean, a number of you guys, and since last year, have transited through the portal of parents into something really different. So that's an option as well.
So it's really, really in the topic. So maybe one more sharing, and then we dive in, huh? Anyone else would like to share what your current challenge is?
Zane?
Hi, everyone. So I can share that observing everything and thinking like, oh, challenges, what's my challenges? Like comparing to everyone is nothing, but finally I realize it's the most challenged for me is challenge to myself, like my constant fight with myself, the most challenging, because I'm thinking as well, I want so much to interact, sharing it as well. Here I think, oh, it's time now. And then what I gonna share? Nothing interesting to share. Like constant this dialogue. And I see it's completely unnatural because I know that I can share, but the voice said, like, no, nothing interesting. No, this is too simple. Oh, nobody will understand or whatever. Why are you gonna take the time of everyone with this? Blah, blah, blah. Oh. So that's it.
Susanne, back to the Latvian aspect that we manage when we are together, but when you get loose and back in Latvia, it comes alive again.
That's why, because I'm knowing that I'm going soon back to France, so I have to kind of complain a little bit at the end. But I know I will be back on the track.
Mm-hmm.
Want it or not, yeah. Oh, well, that's actually, we thank you for bringing up, and it's not insignificant or unimportant because you actually highlighted the challenge that is happening silently and without outer visibility. This challenge that everybody faces inside, struggling with your own 500 voices in your head and indecisions and this and that. So we do tend to focus on outer problems, but what about the one that's sitting right there and is with you 24 hours a day? So that's a huge struggle and challenge. And if there was a miracle solution, I think the half of the world will sign up for it straight away. So it's not small, just so you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, then let's look at what's going on and what can we do about the challenges that are, Anna, I'm also afraid that you are not wrong when you say that things are not really going to go any better, at least in the outer reality. So we're receiving, all sorts of informations about what is brewing, what is cooking, and a lot of people are feeling this tremendous pressure cooker that something is going to burst out somewhere. Everybody's, everyone I know literally has some sort of, inner pressure, which means like, when we were in Bali and Agung was about to burst, this is what people were feeling in their bodies, this tremendous kind of compression and being squeezed, and it has to come out somehow, and it will come out through events in nature or in any other way. So which means that challenges are not going to stop. We will see how to go around them.
And it's easy to kind of understand whether they're going to stop or not. You just can ask yourself a question. is humanity ready for its mature state now? Has maturity come to humanity? Has humanity passed its puberty? Is it ready to act responsibly as a whole or not yet? And when we look around, we think, well, they would go right back doing what they were doing before. So they're not ready. They need a little bit more of spanking.
And for this, I would like to share something really interesting that came my way. I watched the interview with Freddy Silva. It's a guy who has traveled, for many years exploring ancient sacred sites, measuring energies there and kind of reconstructing the puzzle, but from very kind of down to earth and logical perspective. And something struck me when he said that, why pyramids? Why all those temples that are oriented towards the sides, planets and the sun and everything? He said, if it's to understand where's the sunrise on on equinoxes, you can do it with 2 sticks, yeah? Why to build a huge structure just for that? So, and at the end of his, very interesting, really flow of thought, he mentioned that, guys who build these structures, they had the ability to see that the destruction of humanity that has already happened, it's a cyclic thing, and it can happen again unless, as Vittorio said, we reach the maturity as human species, and we don't have to again erase ourselves for, to start all over again. And he said that these sacred sites are actually oriented on the earth grid in a very specific geometrical alignment and triangles and everything that gives us more time to wake up and understand. So in a way, we're living on a borrowed time. Our time has been up maybe already. So we are living on some sort of extension of the time in, very fast. We have to get ready to that maturity of self-responsibility and self-awareness by all means. And what is going on right now is already a bonus time. Because as we shared previously, Damanur, they have figured out that the world had to end, in the 80s.
Yeah.
In the 80s, and that's a very, very real timeline that has been diverted. So for some reason, the Earth has been stabilized, not to fall off its axis as it was kind of predicted to be, but to give us a little extra time. So it coincides also with Atlantean kind of timeline clock, where we are at the exact same position where they were when their world ended, and seeing if the humanity has made the, this step forward in their awareness and the maturity, or still not. So literally, there's a timeline war right now, because some people have come to that maturity, inner maturity, and are able to choose, for example, this respectful way of being human and acknowledging this ultra-fine mechanism that we are, that embodies the soul and other subtle bodies. So for those people who are on this path of realizing the life and human potential, well, they are anchoring and holding in their field one kind of timeline. And the other timeline, obviously is going in a direction. So when we say the timeline war, is that this frantic trying to split people or somehow hold the confusion in every possible way, is actually because the inevitable has to happen. Either we go on that one timeline or the other, but both cannot coexist anymore. So when you realize this enormity of the moment that we're witnessing right now, there's literally no reference in our recent past to this particular energetic setting. And there's no, we don't really fully realize what impact our every thought, our every decision, our every feeling, our every being, every minute how much that counts for one timeline or the other, because it's all gathering the proof whether the humanity is really anywhere close to evolving in a non-self-centered society or not. And this is literally playing out right now.
Last time when we had this sort of enormity of global change, nobody directly remembers it, was about 2000 years ago at around the end of Roman Empire. So this is where there was complete disconnect with the previous organization of society, and something new was born and started to happen from there. So this is around the time of like just BC and up to the 400 year AD, where we had the last big collapse of global civilization. So now we are kind of seeing that level of where we are. Nothing to really be alarmed, because it's a huge change and we have to kind of understand we need to go through this. And there will be huge upheavals, but you know, we have to weather it and go through it. So the thing is to get ready for that and to find the right place within and the right priorities of things outside in order to go through that stage.
So in fact, there's nothing that we can specifically be ready for. Yeah, like if there's giant, I don't know, Nibiru falls on the earth next week, as someone is predicting, well, how can you be ready for that? Yeah,
there is something to be ready. It's really losing the fear of death.
Yeah,
the fear of dying, and actually understanding firsthand what it is to go through the transition between existence in time-space versus existence outside of time-space. So that's where we will have to go through several times, not just once. Oh, I had this amazing journey, you know, when I was in ayahuasca, but now I'm back. And it's really going deeply through understanding those cycles of space-time in, space-time out, space-time in, space-time out, and gradually kind of starting to see the things from larger perspective, yeah?
So, you know, we as human beings were very interestingly made, because we're made with the fear of death included, because otherwise, if we would be born fearless of death, we would probably not evolve as much as we do by trying to avoid death. So the fear of death is some sort of propeller, you know, it's really propelling us forward into finding strategies how to avoid. So all the advancement in medicine and you know, comfort are based on this avoiding the death. So it serves its purpose. But there's another feature that is inbuilt, which is absolute resistance to change. Human beings are not comfortable with change. Even those who say that they are, ultimately nobody is comfortable with change. You ask the most nomadic person, yeah, deep down, we accept it, we live with it, but nobody is really, really down to the core comfortable with, absolutely flawless with the unknown. There's always this little doubt or question, or, you know, something that is bothering in the constant change of environment and situation and people. So, and why is that so? Why are we so fixed as beings, you know, in a way? So it's because that's another engine that drives us forward. It's that the fear of change is broken by the challenge. And in a way, there's a little slogan going on, so no challenge, change. And that's true. You know, when we're comfortable somewhere, we're not looking to change that. We're looking to stay in that for a little longer. So in order for humanity to keep evolving, so we're pushed to change by constantly having our environment dissolve, our identity, our idea about ourselves dissolve one after the other. And it brings us to this, let's say, third major feature that we have as human beings is the going for what we like, following our likes and dislikes, because this fear of death, fear of change goes hand in hand with strong preference for pleasantness. Yeah.
Yeah. So finally, we touch this issue of the preferences, what I would like to do and what I wouldn't like to do. And of course, I would like to do something that I have already experienced because I know what it is. And especially I wouldn't like to do that I had negative associations with, because at that time I didn't know how to deal with that. So this is going to be a huge lesson. This is going to be the main lesson for humanity that had pretty much formed itself on some level from actually the egoic point. This is how the Western society has actually built itself, from the point of me and my preferences and my evolution, and then everyone else. So this is the state of a two-year-old who still believes that the world is actually his servant, and whatever he says, the world is going to meet him, and it's their duty. And you know how two-year-olds are loud and crying when they are finally faced with the fact that the parents are starting to reject that tyranny, and they're starting to kind of make them understand that there are some rules that they will have to follow. That's that painful process of growing up, starts at around 2. So I think we are maybe not really as humanity at 2, but we are not past 5. I think certainly we are around 5-year-olds, something like that. And we need to be at 20. So we have quite a way to go.
So we have to understand that if we have been given this particular set of fear of death, dislike for change, and strong preference for pleasantness, well, that's what it is. That's what we have, and that's why we live the way we live, and we have built our society around these concepts of staying safe and staying comfortable. So, but what the world does, it doesn't want us to stay in that position. So I'll just give another example. When we were exploring the human design, so the girl told us, yeah, you know, it's very rare that she analyzes couples and they have like everything like perfect match, that they understand each other 100% and they're thinking the same and doing the same and being the same. It's very rare that those very compatible people are actually together. And why is so? Because the nature doesn't like the sameness. The nature doesn't like something to stop evolving because it's too comfortable. So the nature is looking to mix and match things to create friction, because out of friction comes a change, out of change comes evolution. And this is how it's going to go. So as much as we are fixed beings in our hearts, you know, by design, as much the nature is actually inviting for this constant change. So this is where we have to look for that balance point between our preference of how we want to be and acceptance and acknowledgement of evolution of humans as species, of changes of seasons, things, epochs, planets. And we're in the most kind of pivotal point ever, yeah, in the recent history. So this is where it's important to find that space in between our design and what feels comfortable in our opinion, and what the nature wants us to be.
The universe, yeah. What the universe wants us to do. Mm-hmm.
So it's very unlikely that someone will have that happiness that we're looking for in our minds. Most of the time looks like, you know, I have no challenges. It's all smooth and easy and pleasant. But, you know, it's never happening, because as soon as you kind of sit down and, here I am, everything is good. Well, the next thing falls apart, and then we have to start solving again. So either we enjoy either we make an understanding and enjoy the process of change, or we keep chasing that latent state of sitting in absolute peace and harmony, because nothing is happening around that would bother us.
But there is an important feature here to understand. And the feature is, as Evia mentioned, that the nature seeks friction in order for us to stretch our boundaries and to stretch our limitations, to become limitless and boundless beings as we are supposed to be. So if you have listened to that interview of Chris Beisch about mapping consciousness that we shared a couple of sessions ago, he mentioned that those cycles of exploring universe deeper and deeper came with facing extreme horrors in his meditations, and facing wars, facing the situations like Claudia faced in her dream today. It is literally facing those deep fears, and this is what that Lilith is all about, facing those fears and transmuting them through sitting in them. And on the other side, once that we have actually transmuted them, once that we have experienced them and released this whole thing, either for us or sometimes even for the collective, these are the collective fears that we have just tapped into during the meditation process or dream process or psychedelic experience process. Once that we have felt it, embodied it, and then transmuted it, the rewards are enormous. The next thing that happens right after that is this next level of the video game almost, where we have reached a state of enormous bliss, and we have reached the next state of seeing and interacting with the universe, and we never go back to the previous state. So the liberation has won, we have won another piece of territory towards being boundless. Boundless humans or boundless beings. So the progression goes like this. We have a purification phase where we face huge challenges, and it sometimes is agonizing experience, but the bliss after that, always in our life, after the challenge came an amazing period where we had so much more possibilities than before. So that after state is really worth sitting through the trial and trying period of that purification phase where you're facing fears. So this seems to be the dynamic. And this seems to be, you know, deciding to die for my previous ego way of seeing the world in order to be larger. And now I don't mind these situations anymore. Now I understand them. Now I'm seeing what is the higher reason for which this is all happening. So from that point of view, what we will want to do is to actually at some point, even funnily, enjoy or at least be grateful for the challenging situations, because we know what's coming after. So it's almost like a test in school. Are you ready for your next version of yourself? If you're ready, you have to pass this test. And
well, you have to go to the test first, yeah? You can't run away from the test saying, no, I don't feel like it.
Yeah, I want to stay in first grade. I don't want to test. And we all know when we were in school that we actually felt really like missing those tests. Why would we go? It's so, it's so challenging, it's difficult, but then we progress to the next stage, to the next grade. So this is universal school of our universe.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole humanity is in front of the huge test, and then we will have this rippled down into our lives, depending on the level that we really are, not where we imagine to be, but where we really are. We will meet the challenges that are perfectly tailored for where we are in our lives.
Mm-hmm. And it's a gradual process, because of course, how would you say to your parents or to someone who is like full on glued in the material world, how would you say them, okay, let's just forget everything you know, everything you think you know, everything that you think you are, just forget about it. Well, that's in short the recipe, yeah, but it's not easy to do, because in order to be able and to understand these words, there needs to be this detachment of our personal perspective that we've been working towards all these years. So it's a very gradual process. That's why I said, to be able to say how Sylvia presented her challenge, or from the other end of it, it takes enormous amount of self-reflection. And we have been given that time. It's not like we just realized. We have been pushed and given the time. And those who are following the instinct of going towards the self-reflection, they have this flexibility of mind to include even this information. For many people, it's more far than science fiction, what we've been talking about, you know. So really, you can congratulate yourself for being able even to hear these concepts. That means that a lot of work has been done already. And those diamonds after the mud, yeah. For example, Miriam had this little example of like disliking the sound of the voice, and then, you know, actually not neglecting that to be seen. And
there was this almost like the close encounter with the rope on the scooter.
Mm-hmm. And then actually showing up for a quite mystical ceremony with Anne and Sylvia, and recovering the voice as a result of showing up for that appointment. So all of, you know, these inspirational leaders and everyone who has written a book, how I overcame this and that, well, they can speak about something because they have actually been facing something really dramatic in their lives. And so it seems to be the way to get your jewels, you know. And then we can ask the question, maybe what's your really talent, your real talent, and what you really want is standing right behind what you dislike the most. So how about that your diamonds are hidden right behind the yucky, you know, preconception of what it is that you absolutely don't want to do. And this is a very individual question, but I have this example of those of you who have seen my Octopus Teacher documentary. So how he was, you know, stressed out in his previous life, and by actually deciding to do something with it and facing the cold water and everything, he developed this extraordinary experience of life with octopus, and actually found his real passion. So, you know, many, like millions of examples like that, but keep looking for these examples in other people's lives in order to understand that maybe, you know, carrying what you're going through is going to open something, your talent that has been sitting and waiting for you there, right behind your worst fear. So this is how it goes. And usually the only part of us that truly rebels against the problems and challenges is our mind, and, you know, supported by emotional body, because we feel the unpleasantness in the emotional body, and we perceive the so-called negativity with our mind, because another feature that is inbuilt, we have polarized minds that are very, very eager to catalog things as good and bad straight away. And even though maybe it's hard to control this immediately judging the situation as good or bad, according to what we feel, we can always come back to the initial decision to classify in polarized way and to see, you know, what do I know? Is it good or bad? What do I know? Like, what do I know? Whether this overbooking that I ruined somebody's birthday and the trip, and, you know, how do I know that this is a bad thing? It's my mistake for sure, but how do I know that it's bad? And according to whom? And for whom is it bad? Yeah. So it's very, like, if you give it a second thought about what you consider good and bad, you'll see it's not founded, it's not standing on any ground, you know, it's pure perception and like ungrounded judgment of the situation out of our limited perspective. So Anna, you had a question.
I wanted to share something regarding that, what you just said, because I really have goosebumps. In one of my psychedelic journeys, I kind of went into a space where I saw, you know, like our categories of good and bad, like almost like one-dimensional card in like this multi-dimensional universe. So basically I got this glimpse of like how we categorize things, like, you know, on our spectrum, you know, here is perfect, good, great, amazing, and here is like the neutral, and then bad. That is just one-dimensional card, and I cannot even fathom of the, you know, this complexity of this multi-dimensional universe, you know, playing out. So basically, like, all my categories got like, oops, I shouldn't even start probably, you know. Yeah, it's just very one-dimensional thinking. I got this impulse, so I wanted to share it because it was,
Great example. Yes, it's one-dimensional thinking that makes us, and it's a polarized thinking, and we can't really help it. We can't even be angry at ourselves for thinking in polarized ways. It is the way we think. But then the maturity and what life wants from us, it wants to grow up from this immature perspective of hastily kind of good and bad. I like you, I don't like you, I will eat, I will not, I will, you know, instead of going every minute with likes and dislikes, what the evolution wants us is to be able to think, as you say, in multidimensional level, understanding that what I think is bad maybe is good for someone, or what do I know? Yeah, what do I know, and what is my authority to even understand? So bringing it to more humble perspective of, yeah, maybe I can be perceived as a bad person in somebody's life because I ruined their plans, but, you know, who is there to say that it's bad? Yeah.
And not just so, like what Anna is saying, that one dimensionality is judging what is it for their current experience of this weekend. But if we look at these higher dimensions, how about thinking about their children and their children's children, and how is this event going to affect the 7th generation of their descendants? So this is what universe is kind of planning. When we have a little incident like this, it might be something for their great children that is the result of this one weekend that has been changed. So there is no way for us to appropriately measure the real impact of the things that we do. So it's just a little bit of the guidelines, but more what Sylvia said is trusting that the universe will make it in a way that I the least expected, and trusting it that it is going that way.
Mm-hmm. So when you think about, we have had a tea session about saying yes to life, yeah, which goes along the same lines of maybe the most dynamic situation is saying yes to what you think is going to be challenging and embracing it fully. So once we manage to detach the judgment from the situation and calm the emotional body, we can actually start rationally, thinking, so what do I do? Because what is actually a challenge? What is a problem? Problem is something, our plans, our personal, limited, ridiculous ant plans went wrong. Well, big deal, yeah? So like, as long as life goes along our scenario, we're happy, everything is fine, we're, on the right track. We have nothing to complain about. And as soon as something hits us out of our imaginary scenario, well, that becomes a problem. Because what do I do? What are we afraid of? We're afraid that we will not know how to be ready, what to do with that. And that's all there is. When you think of people who are preparing for all eventual disaster in their lives, who are hoarding or preventing or being extra ultra careful, well, what for? It's actually because they have extreme uncertainty of being able to handle a given situation when it comes. Well, and that creates a suffering, because you're suffering from the idea of what might happen before it even happens. So when you understand that this and really dissect the challenge as such, and you understand that it's something that happened out of your expected trajectory, well, you stop judging. It's just okay, you are turning suddenly left instead of going right as you have intended. So what? Essentially, when you look at it, it's not a big deal, but mentally, when you are in it, it's a big deal. Because now what? And somehow there's always this stress of, oh my God, and what and how, because the mind is not able to switch from the intended trajectory to the now current reality, and has hard time
to unknown, yeah?
Yeah. And again, a famous fear of change comes in, and distrusting distrusting the universe and all that. So we have to take all these ingredients and really, really remember about them next time we're stressed about unknown situation, because given the current, this big time, we might be facing something that we actually don't know how to deal with, even with our trained minds. But the only thing we can master is how do we feel at the moment of really bad news or really big changes coming. And if we manage to calm our minds and saying, well, you know what, I might not have a solution, but my favorite quote in my diary for years was Tibetan saying that, okay, so if the problem has a solution, then why to worry? But if the problem has a solution, well, then why to worry? Either way, why to worry? So if you go with this simple axioma, that's full of sense, then you will see that the moment that you have to act, you will have all the resources available. Like you guys who live from home to home without knowing, you know that in the moment and in divine perfection, that solution comes. And it wouldn't be just words if you didn't have this extended experience of that, years of it. Yeah.
There is another parallel of this, and this is that comes from Via Ferrata and climbing the parts of the mountain with that strap on. And then there are really parts of the mountain that go like, it's not even vertical, it's kind of backwards. You're kind of hanging back first at the, like abyss. So all you know is I have no idea how I'm going to get up there, but I have the idea how to make the next step. And when I'm in that situation, all I'm thinking is my next step. And then step by step, you know, really making the open and undetached decision one step at a time. The next thing we know, we have reached somehow the top. But when I was at the bottom, I had no idea how it is ever going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's another part of this.
Exactly. For example, Claudia, in your life, it seems overwhelming because there are too many things, too many ingredients that are out of control. So health of the family, kids, work, you know, everything. Too many ingredients at the time. And mind creates this, oh my God, kind of feeling. But if you lay it down on the paper, and sometimes it really helps to lay down on the paper. I remember with my friend, you know, I was overwhelmed because there were too many things to deal with, and then I freeze and really cover myself with a blanket. I even draw the tarot card that was literally the one, 9 of Swords, you know, that you, or I don't know which one of Swords, where you lay down and you have these stabbed, and you're like covered. I'm not here, like I'm not here. So
yeah.
When you have this extreme like mind buzz, I don't know what to do first. When, you know, you can reflect with a friend or just lay it out on the paper and see, but what it is that I can do. There's this obvious reality of things out of control in your life, but what it is that I can do right now, right here with what I am. What is the first immediate step that I can do? And when you bring it down to this moment, to the next, even the slightest, maybe I can call someone, maybe I can just sit and breathe, you know? When you bring the mind back home, yeah, to the body and say, okay, so what is it that I can do in this chaotic situation? Then you will see that suddenly there's order of things. And it's like everything is happening at the same time, will structure itself. Okay, well, this and that, and solutions will start appearing if we quiet our mind and thus are able to see.
And what is really important before doing those steps is to see what is my fear in this moment really. What does this represent to me? So in my case with the driver's license, I understood that this was representing my fear of losing my freedom, for example. Or it's really examining what is that fear and then facing that fear. And in any way that you can is embracing the person that holds that field inside and releasing that person. It's no longer needed there. That fear is not needed. We are not supposed to have fear about anything. If we have a fear about something, that means that there is part of ourselves that has not been looked at for quite some time because that fear has been formed in the past when we didn't know how to deal with the situation. So it's super important to face the version of ourselves that hold that fear and in any way you know, release it. And we have many ways of this. We have shared them already throughout our teas.
And we'll share at the end something really practical to do. But I would like to say that there's a huge paradox, and let's stretch our minds a little bit on that. Fabiana said that she doesn't want to decide what to do out of fear. She doesn't want the fear to be the one that decides for her. Well, if you listen to these words and turn the meaning the other way around, what if the fear is actually the best way to decide, but consciously? What if the fear is actually showing you the way to go, the way to go to your deepest kind of next level revelations? What if by avoiding that what you're afraid of, you're just postponing and turning in circles and circles and circles?
I need a more difficult lesson. So right now you are offered, you know, like $50. It's a $50 fee to heal this. Next time the price is gonna be higher. You're gonna be offered $500. for this fear to be released, and the next time 5,000. So it's like, now it's cheap, take it now. And plus now is now. You can do something about it now. It doesn't have to come in a more difficult packaging.
Mm-hmm. So I have seen in my personal life and family and people that I know, that avoiding facing the fears and not acting out of fears just makes that fear come back at the end of the road, you know, many, many years later, but in some dramatically big challenge form. And then, you know, when the body is involved, you know, Karin, like you have this situation, when the body is involved, you cannot duck under the blanket anymore. Like it's there. And Claudia is the same thing. You know, if you have physical signs from the body alarming, that means, you know, what we all know what it means when the body, it's like there's no more postponing looking at those fears. And sometimes the fears are even therapeutically healed by real in any way, but not with a brutal confrontation, but with understanding, with identifying what exactly those fears, what am I afraid of going back to my parents? What am I afraid of not speaking in public? What am I afraid of, you know, by losing my freedom to move? Like, what is the deepest thing that I would like to avoid? And you'll see it's a strange mirror land, the life that we live, because, you know, our gifts, our diamonds are not given like this on a silver platter. We have to kind of prove ourselves to be worthy of that next level. And the worthiness is exactly when we can change the way we think to completely other way around and accept what we thought was bad for us and include maybe it's actually good for us. And when we stop even those categories, or this is bad, so I don't want it, or this is good, and that's why I want it. When we stop those categories, then we're just free to, you know, enjoy all the taste of life that comes our way, because that's what the life on earth is for, is to have the maximum of taste of everything. You know, sometimes I have this like alien kind of thinking, like when I'm looking at the body, wow, this is so sophisticated. So, oh my God, how fragile, but how resistant, how it lasted for 40 years without kind of, you know, having one arm off or one eye out. So how do we last? So I have this fascination about the range of human experiences that are possible. And I think in those realms where we're all just pure light, it's a little bit boring in that way. You know, you can spend eons suspended in some sort of enlightened beam of light, and imagine those few years on earth that we have with these intense, heartbreaking emotions and doubts and everything. That's the juice. That's the juice. Every doubt, every like fear, everything is the juice of life. And that's the privilege of having privilege and curse, of course, of having the body, because we can feel those things. We can distinguish the nuances of everything, you know, how we interpret the information. So when we take a step back and understand that there's nothing wrong of feeling in the categories, but that there's also a space to step out of it. And as long as we know that there's a space to step out of being like full on fixed human, and we step back and we realize that at the same time, this is just one aspect, human aspect of multidimensional being, as we said last time, well, then suddenly there are many options and you can start playing with the ingredients of what life offers. Yeah, you can just live through it and accept the lemons and kind of, you know, manage around the lemons that life throws at you, or you can step back and say, okay, so I also have a say in this world and I can do something about it. I can create it the way I want, in a way. So we have heard it millions of times, you're creator of your life, you're God and everything. But how to practically do it? Well, only and only when you are able to dissociate yourself from your human experience, the time to understand what are the given ingredients of the situation. From that point, we can actually embrace this gift that we have to be able to adjust our reality.
And at this time, really more than ever, it's really almost our duty to create that reality how we want it to be. What we call is to bring heaven on earth. So to resist any attempts to kind of imprint it into us, into anything smaller and anything more limited, that how we can best see it, what is our ideal version of the world, and actually beaming all the choices, all the thoughts, all the emotions out of that place. This is how I want my world to be, and I'm insisting on it, and I am thinking it into existence and acting it into existence. So really, this psychological warfare that is going on right now is about maintaining that frequency of the quality of the world that we want to have around us. So this is maybe the world where humanity is loving, kind, and embracing each other. And all of our thoughts and decisions are stemming from the certainty that this is what we are bringing on, and we are not compromising on this. So anything that is mapping any worse or lower version of the things in me, I just reject it. I say no to it. And I turn the other 360 degrees, and I see the beautiful nature. I see the beautiful sea. I see the beauty that's already here, embedded, but somehow masked by the psychological warfare, yeah? So we say no to it. And we really create our world one decision and one act at a time.
Well, and again, not out of fears or judging things as bad. You know, Anna, you said that you have this dilemma. So if they are asking you to go through certain criteria in order to be able to travel and go on with your studies, so then, you know, you might actually not do it because you don't feel like it. So, you know, I really believe, and it's just my personal feeling, that when we have resolved and we're in peace and not afraid of, you know, what's threatening. Of course, if I think with my human mind, I was like, oh, I don't want to be part of this world anymore, you know, it's going way away from any of my personal values. But then I step back and I say, okay, so if I don't have to, if I'm not afraid actually, and if I trust that if it's not in my experience, it's not even gonna come to me to make this choice. And I stay rooted in my cosmic earth timeline where I propagate ripples of my values of loving kindness and non-interference with, you know, other human beings, then that is what is paving my way forward. Yeah. And, you know, whatever comes in that field is somehow ingredients on my path. But if I don't, if I am wobbly on my timeline, then anything can come. You know, it's like a door. You open the door and, you know, a load of things fall in on your timeline. So that's why more than ever, it's so crucial to keep standing, keep anchoring, and keep driving your way forward without judgment, without being afraid of the bad, without panicking before actually things happen. And I guess putting it down in some sort of structure or order within ourselves, that nothing that you see is real, nothing that you think is real, even what we are talking about right now is not really real. But what is real is how do you feel in that little space of the heart that we went to in last session? How does it feel there? If there's a peace in there, that means, you know, you're doing quite okay in your human experience. So how that situation is behaving, those are more of technical details. So what we can do is, at any kind of time of stress, if you need to find an answer, or if you need just a break to be able to see clear, if you need to be able to pull back and understand, you know, what is even going on, the space of the source code that we went to in the back of the heart when we went to last time. So this is the place where, in a way, you stop being just human and you're in touch with the eternity. You're on the threshold between the manifest reality and non-manifest reality. And this is a threshold from where, if your reality really deeply doesn't fit your system, you can adjust it. Yeah. The other thing that you need to take care of, so that is one place you can always go to, it's yours, and you can refresh your original frequency by going and, you know, replugging into that source code. And Miriam had a beautiful experience with retrieving the elements of her source code. So more you visit that place, more you understand that, you know, according to your source code and frequency, you cannot have any experience that is not designed for you to have. Yeah. And if there's too much of emotions kind of swelling up and clouding the vision, then you need to work on the emotional body and actually take the emotional body and align it to the frequency of love. Attune it like tuning forks, you know. You need to find anything that for you represents love and frequency of love, and you enter in resonance with that field of love, and you attune your emotional body. You can actually command it. It obeys. You know, sometimes when those guys of us who are emotional, and if you hear a sentimental song, you cry and you don't want to, but you do, and then it's embarrassing. So you can command it. I said already, you can command emotional body down, like emotional body, sit down, like a dog, yeah, and it works. That means it's a field that obeys your command. And if the emotions are swinging high, you can always command them down, or you can attune them to the frequency of love, like two tuning forks. And sometimes it's a song, or if you already have something that brings you back to that state.
I can remind you where that frequency of love is anchored around us. And this in Madeira, in this place of fantastic nature, it's literally every flower that you take a look at. How much amazing love of this creative intelligence has had to be there to create something as perfect as just a flower. You know, when we take a look at those perfections in nature, that's the reminder right there. Not to mention that the perfection that the sun comes out every day and gives this beautiful heat. And then in the evening, we get a little bit of the cooler time, and it comes out on time every day. It's like, how about that? It's always at the same time. So these precisions of amazingness of how the world and nature around us operates, this is actually the proof of tremendous amount of love that took to create something as perfect as this system around us. So If you need reminder from where to go to the frequency of love, just look at any one of those things. Expose yourself to the sun, take a look at a flower or a palm tree or anything that is nature around us. Everything, even microscopic nature, is perfect. Everything about it is perfect. So really, whatever you choose to look at, that's where the love is.
And we're learning to navigate between just human and multidimensional human. So anytime that your humanness gets overwhelmed, you can always zoom out into the cosmic, galactic, or multidimensional being human, and take the resources and get the harmonizing out of there. So you don't have to rely only on what you have in the physical world to attune yourself. You can always rely to those resources that are also part of you, but out of your physical sight. So questioning everything about yourself, questioning these judgments of who is right, who is wrong, because so many, let's say, harmful things have happened in the name of good, yeah, that everybody sees the sun at their doorstep. So those who are doing awful things in the world, like depopulation, well, they actually think they're doing the good thing. They're reducing the number of people on Earth because it's they think it's the right thing to do. Well, people who are being in the program of being reduced out of this planet don't think it's the good idea or good thing to do. So having also compassion and understanding that when you face the evil, when you face some really strong wrongdoing, understanding that maybe they're actually thinking they're doing good, like Spanish Inquisition, full on, they thought they were kind of super righteous. So understanding that everybody has different definitions according to their level of vibration, and keeping it down to ourselves and to our little business of expanding our channel of perception, more we have a heightened perception, more we can actually have an impact, to the point where, you know, you girls, you were singing in Bali on that new moon day. So imagine if you had the full capacity and connection to your creator self, with just 3 of you singing right there, you could infuse the whole world. I actually think you did, by the way, but you can infuse the whole world with this new timeline of peace and harmony. And it doesn't mean like in a world of peace and harmony, nothing challenging would happen. It would have its own load of challenges. But this is where, let's say, the divine playing this game through human minds wants to go, to recognize itself as a creator and to hold that frequency enough so that everything can magnetize to it. What to do when facing real evil, yelling at me? Well, you know, it depends on which frequency we hear it. If we are afraid of somebody like openly yelling and being mean to us, that means we're hearing at the same frequency at which it's projected at us. Yeah. So we have a level from which to hear things. If we feel attacked and personally disturbed by someone obviously, you know, disturbed and energetically charged yelling at us, and if we actually let it in, it becomes our reality. It becomes part of our experience.
Yeah, we have lowered ourselves to that frequency that they are asking you to interact with. But if you stay in the frequency from which you see that this person is actually in the evolutionary state that is, you know, like so far behind where you are, and that's what they are just expressing. They are expressing their fearful, immature, childish state where they are. And from your space, it's possible to look at it from even some sort of sadness and compassion for the state that they are at. But really what's important is holding that frequency and not being, I know it's challenging, but not actually getting down and interacting at that same level.
Mm-hmm. Because what opens the door to sway us off track is the immediate judgment that they're yelling and it's bad. Yeah, is this immediate judgment that somebody yelling at you or being aggressive towards you is bad. So you already open the door to interact on the same level. There's this great interview with this lady who channels Pleiadians, and she explained if you encounter real evil on astral realms, stay in your heart and the evil will dissolve. It cannot exist in the presence of a calm frequency of the heart. It cannot exist. Yeah.
Literally what we did last time, stay in the heart and stay in the back chamber of your heart and connect to your source code.
Mm-hmm.
Just
if you see it from the side,
observe the situation from there.
Mm-hmm. If you see it from the side, you see, well, what is happening really? One person is projecting the words at the other person. That's all that is happening.
Yeah, so
the stress comes because you understand those words, you take them personally, you react from that space, and it creates the whole unpleasantness. You know, I was so happy in Portugal that they were blasting all over the place in airports about the danger, virus, masks, something. I didn't understand the word. I was so happy, you know. I hear the same thing in France. I say, like, oh, where can I break the speaker? Can I shoot somewhere, you know? Can I spray it with I have aggressive reactions to these sound terrorism. But in Portugal, I didn't understand what they were saying. So they could tell me all about the virus and how I have to save lives by wearing the thing. And I was happy. So imagine that if you wouldn't hear the words, if you wouldn't understand what they mean, and you wouldn't understand that this aggressive behavior is actually scary, you wouldn't react the same way. So that's why staying in the heart dissolves not only the astral world monsters, but the real life monsters, because that's what people don't expect. They do not expect someone to react with loving kindness to aggression. It's unheard of. So let's give them some surprise.
Miriam had a comment, or somebody from your trio.
The group. Yeah, go ahead, Sylvia.
Yes, thank you. It was about that ceremony actually. And, you know, it was so rich and it had certain quite, how to say it, brutal element, including like animal sacrifice. And first I thought that, oh, we're going to release a bird.
God, yes.
And it was actually not like that. That bird was sacrificed and the blood was kind of thrown around. And I naturally, I think I screamed from shock. The two other ladies were just kind of standing there, and I thought, well, we have to embrace this. This is what they believe, that they do something good for the sake of the ceremonial act. And as I was walking on the steps, I just said that to myself, that this is part of it, that we need to understand that we are creating a new world, but the old is still here and existing. So we almost like creating like a sphere within this existence thing, and we just need to kind of become that newness and expand it, and accept that some people believe that this is devotion to cut a bird's head, and they believe that this is what pleasing God. And so if they believe so, then for them, hopefully it is so. But it was really rich, and it was kind of that richness and that shocking experience was actually part of that very divine and very, I don't have words for it, like experience. Yeah, it was like the extremes in one spot.
Yeah, I mean, you had right there the contrast between
Yes.
old world and old so-called spirituality, and new that you guys were representing. In the mature world, in the mature humanity, we live in communion with living beings that are around us. And under no pretext, we harm or dismember, other of them. And obviously, this is what we call black magic. And it's connecting to the blood, and blood is representing the ether in that negative world, and they need that element of ether to anchor some of their desire, but they're hurting another being. So this is the old way that things have been done, and this, at least you witnessed. Imagine now on the bigger level that this is done in high political circles, just instead of those chickens, they are children. So this is the old way of creating, these huge outcomes that are based on fear and black magic.
Creating reality. Those are the old black magic related ways of creating reality. We can do without it.
So the next level is this cannot survive. The next level that we are creating is this is, the earth is going to end the species that does this, or we will mature as humans, either or, but this behavior cannot continue. This is now is the expiration date. We have a little bit more, probably in the next 5 years is expiration date of this. So either we as a species get ejected from the planet, or we are able to upgrade ourselves to some level of maturity and inclusion of all the species and become really one with them.
Yeah, Silvia, thank you for sharing. This is actually the mature perspective of things, that you immediately put the context that yes, this is what at their level of consciousness they perceive as engagement with the land, with the earth. And there's a whole philosophy behind that. It's too short, otherwise I would tell you, because it was so troubling me that I really dug down and spoke with priests and Sedana and everyone and Pagusti about how, what does it mean? Why do they do that? Because we as Westerners, we're less sensitive to animals, so we don't, but when I had to pay like $2,000 in my house in Green Spirit to make this once in a 20-year ceremony where they sacrificed a swan, a dog, and like 5 chickens, and I don't know what rare thing again, I was revolted. I have to pay for it and I have no choice, and I had to witness it. And it was beyond what I could handle at that point, and I really looked for answers. And the answers that they gave me actually made sense within their cosmology of things. It made sense in a way so that I stopped being reactive to that. But however, and whatever makes sense, for Aztecs, it made sense to cut people's head and roll them down to offer to the sun god. It completely made sense. And they thought that the person that is sacrificed will, have some benefit after that. Muslims have interesting thing going on about dying for a cause. So we can't interfere with how people believe and perceive the sacredness of the ceremony, but we can only, with a heightened state of awareness, include it and steer it a little bit our way. So and
Variety with the version, with the frequency of love.
And interesting, and for many years doing these like sacred works and ceremonies, I have always noticed that in the moment of the best possible moment that we're anchoring the new timeline, there is a chainsaw going on. There is a huge noise, interference, whatever, something is, you know, happening out. And I was like, what? Out of all possible moments, does it have to be now? Well, I guess it has, because this is where this detachment of realities is happening, and you can clearly see the one that you choose and the one that is there. And somehow it's important to see it at that moment. It's a moment of conscious choice and it's your act of creation, which is supported by the other side of the coin as well. So
unfortunately, prepare to see some real horrible atrocities as the humanity upgrade itself to the next level, what have been happening hidden from our eyes all this time. And we will have to see it, and we will have to meet it in ourselves in order to cleanse that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be, you know, like revolting, but necessary to be witnessed.
Mm-hmm. And given that we're just the specks in that big flow of evolution, really standing in witness, but not a passive witness, engaged and actually conscious of what it is that we can do and what it is that we can't do, is the place to be for the next couple of years. Really, like Sylvia, from this perspective, embracing how people perceive creation of their reality, and, you know, just allow it to be, unless there's something you can do, and then you do. Even if it's empowering your side of version of the reality. So these are the ingredients of how to face the challenge. Understanding that we're made in a way to dislike the challenge because of our resistance of change and preference for polarized view of things, and really opening up that that perspective that you can get during those psychedelic journeys of the oneness of creation and intricacy of the divine plan, where nothing is being really too much and everything has its place and time. And as Anna Kocheva shared about this multidimensional network where good and bad just stop existing, and really dwelling and comforting our heated minds with at least that realization that it's a passionate way to be a human, because we feel these things. But when it gets too much, we have always a place to retreat from that. So I guess that is going to be quite important for the times to come. And you know, and then Anna will guide us to physically visit those dimensions.
Yeah, that would be highly appreciated.
That Chris Beish says that, you know, if a human being touches once that feeling of ultimate oneness and realization of a multidimensional nature of the universe, they can never do the same things as they were doing before. Once that limited perception is at least shaken, there's no way we can continue hurting each other the way we do as humans. But the responsibility for it being that way is our collective one anyways.
Yeah. I want to find the link and send you the link to that interview where Chris Beish talks about the dissolution of the world as we know it and the creation of the new human. So it's called the Global Collapse, Spirituality and the Birth of Future Human. Here's the link for you if you care to see that interview. So we had this and we have another announcement to make. This is connecting to sacred sexuality topic that we had a few weeks ago. So finally, the workshop with Pepe Danza is prepared and ready. And it's going to be a 6-week journey, and it is starting either this coming Thursday or one after. So I'm going to share the website where you can sign up for that if you're interested. So this is going to be a great, great journey.
Yeah, and it came about in such mystical ways, and you know, it could have been done way earlier, or like every step of it was so mystical that we don't even know really if the topic is what is the main idea, but somehow it's another cosmic appointment with special souls to just hang out together and you know, and breathe and listen to amazing music and hold hands for any kind of magic to come our way. Because the portal holder Pepe has a real special door to the heavens.
So yeah, I'm sharing it here in the chat, and I will also send you guys emails about this. So there you go, another cosmic appointment, like Evia says. It's going to be, you know, just being in the presence with that amazing human is already.
Yeah, we were guided to actually make the appointment scheduled and available, and then we don't know. It's things at this time, you know, when we surrender to the guidance, they can take us to many interesting places. So
as Sylvia says, we don't know exactly where we'll end up, but we are willing to go there.
Exactly. So we can follow our fears as a guidance, or we can follow our heart as a guidance. We will end up where we have to be. And if it gets too much, retreat in your secret chamber that's between the heart.
Mm. So that's what we had for today, guys. Thank you for being here and journeying with us through these beautiful and interesting times.
Thank you for your attention, your patience, and holding space for all of us to go beyond the ideas.
Yeah, and let's really beam this higher version of reality with everything we think, we do, and however we act. It's from that new place.
Yes.
Lots of love.
Thank you, beautifuls, and
we will see you next week, hopefully.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Thank you for the bug hugs.